What if I told you there's a class of assets that never crashes? Not in 2008, not in 2020, not even during wars or pandemics. While 99% of people panic sell, the wealthy keep getting richer because they know the secret. Warren Buffett once said, "Be fearful when others are greedy." But what if you didn't have to fear anything? Welcome back, savvy investors. Today we're cracking open the vault to reveal assets that defy economics 101. Not gold, not Bitcoin, not even blue chip stocks. These are the invisible treasures that grow when everything else burns. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at wealth the same way again. Chapter 1. The 3,000-Year Secret. Imagine waking up one morning, turning on the tap, and nothing comes out. No water, no explanation, just silence. In that moment, you realize something terrifying. The most valuable resource on Earth isn't gold, oil, or even land. It's water. And the people who control it? They don't just hold power, they own life itself. Take a wild guess. Who's one of the largest private owners of farmland in the US? Bill Gates. He controls 242,000 acres. And with that comes something far more valuable than crops: water rights. While most people chase stocks, crypto, or real estate, he's securing control over something civilizations cannot survive without. This strategy isn't new. It's 3,000 years old. History has already written this script. The Roman Empire, one of the greatest civilizations of all time, had an Achilles heel: its water supply. Their mighty aqueducts, once a symbol of power, became their downfall, slowly poisoning their own people with lead. As their water system crumbled, so did their empire. Fast forward to today, and we're seeing the same pattern. Droughts are spreading, rivers are drying up, and water rights are becoming more valuable than oil. The only difference? The players have changed, but the game remains the same. Water isn't just another commodity, it's survival. Every industry, every home, every city depends on it. Yet while most people are distracted, the wealthiest and most strategic minds are quietly securing the most powerful asset of the future. The question is, are you paying attention? Chapter 2. The Triad of Unkillable Assets. Some assets are untouchable. No matter how many recessions, market crashes, or global crises hit, certain things hold their value forever. Why? Because they follow a powerful formula. Scarcity plus essential utility plus monopoly equals forever value. Miss even one of these, and what seems valuable today could be worthless tomorrow. Scarcity is the foundation. Take gold, for example. It can't be printed endlessly like paper money, and there's only so much of it on Earth. That's why gold has survived every economic collapse in history, while countless currencies have come and gone. But scarcity alone isn't enough. Something can be rare and still irrelevant. That's where essential utility comes in. Gold is valuable, but you don't need it to survive. Insulin, on the other hand, is life or death for millions. That's why companies holding insulin patents aren't just selling a product, they control a necessity. When something is truly essential, demand isn't negotiable. It's built into human existence. Then comes monopoly, the ultimate power move. Take De Beers, the diamond giant that didn't just sell diamonds, but controlled them. In the 20th century, they manipulated supply, created artificial scarcity, and convinced the world that diamonds were a symbol of love and status. They didn't just profit, they dictated the entire market. That's what a monopoly does. It makes sure the game is always rigged in its favor. If you're serious about building lasting wealth, you need to understand this formula. Most investments are fragile. Stocks crash, industries get disrupted, trends fade. But when an asset has scarcity, essential utility, and monopoly, that's when it becomes unkillable. So ask yourself, are you betting on assets that can disappear overnight? Or are you securing things that will always hold power? Chapter 3. The Ghost Assets. No one sees. Some of the most valuable assets on the planet aren't land, gold, or factories. They're invisible. You can't touch them, you can't hold them, but they generate billions. They're called intellectual property, IP, and in the digital age, they're more powerful than oil, real estate, or even entire industries. Take Qualcomm. They don't need to build phones to make billions. They own 5G patents, and every time a company uses their technology, Qualcomm collects a check. $7 billion per year just from licensing. That's money flowing in, whether they lift a finger or not. Then there's Google. Everyone thinks they're just a search engine, but what really makes them powerful? Their algorithm. That invisible formula is valued at over $1.5 trillion because it controls the flow of information and advertising dollars across the entire internet. Or look at Disney. Their theme parks and merchandise make billions, but their biggest asset isn't physical. It's their intellectual property, characters, stories, and franchises that they can monetize endlessly. Every time Marvel drops a movie, Star Wars launches a show, or Mickey Mouse appears on a new product, Disney prints money. The characters never age, never demand salaries, and never go out of fashion. They just keep compounding in value. The best part? Intellectual property isn't taxed like physical assets. If you own land, the government takes a cut every year. If you own factories, you pay taxes on production. But if you own a patent, a copyright, or a proprietary algorithm, it scales infinitely, generates passive income, and in many cases, dodges traditional taxation. That's why the world's richest and most powerful companies don't just sell products, they own ideas. Even individuals are catching on. Writers license book rights, musicians earn from royalties, YouTubers monetize their content, and software developers build once and sell forever. The old game was about owning physical things. The new game is about owning the intangible assets that control everything else. So while most people chase tangible assets, the smartest players are locking down the invisible gold that keeps paying forever. The question is, are you thinking like them, or are you still chasing the old game? Chapter 4. Crisis Currencies when the world goes mad. Most people panic when the world goes crazy. The smart ones? They profit from chaos. Wars, pandemics, financial meltdowns. These aren't random disasters. They're opportunities for those who know where to look. Because if history has proven one thing, it's this: human stability is a myth. Take defense contractors. Every time there's global tension, Lockheed Martin's stock surges. When governments scramble to buy more weapons, investors in companies like these don't just survive, they thrive. Geopolitical instability isn't bad for business, it is the business. Then there's the pharmaceutical game. Before 2020, Moderna was just another biotech company. But when the world needed an mRNA vaccine, their patents skyrocketed 400% in value. Overnight, they went from niche science to global necessity. They weren't reacting to the crisis, they were positioned for it. Look at gold and Bitcoin. When financial systems wobble, central banks print money, inflation rises, and people flee to hard assets. That's why gold has been a crisis hedge for centuries, and why Bitcoin, despite its volatility, surges every time traditional markets shake. In a world where trust is fragile, assets that exist outside the system become the ultimate insurance. Even media empires know the playbook. Fear sells. Every major crisis floods billions into news networks and social media platforms. Panic drives engagement. Engagement drives ad revenue, and ad revenue builds power. The more unstable the world, the more valuable attention becomes. Here's the hard truth. Crisis is inevitable. It's not a question of if the world will break, it's when. And while most people are scrambling, a select few are sitting on assets designed to soar when everything else crashes. So ask yourself, are you betting on stability, or are you preparing for the next storm? Because those who own crisis currencies don't just survive uncertainty, they own it. Chapter 5. The Psychology of Forever Assets. Some things don't just hold value, they grow in value forever. But here's the secret. It's not because they're useful, rare, or even logical. It's because they tap into something deeper than money, human psychology. Think about this. A banana duct taped to a wall sold for $120,000 at Art Basel. Not because it had gold inside, not because it would last, but because it wasn't about the banana, it was about status. Someone paid six figures to say, "I own this." Or take Rolex. Sure, it's a high-quality watch, but so is a $500 𝐈𝐶𝐞. Yet vintage Rolex models appreciate 20% every year. Why? Because when something is expensive and exclusive, people want it even more. This is the Veblen goods effect, where price itself becomes part of the appeal. The same principle applies to fine art. A Picasso isn't just a painting, it's a flex. The ultra-rich don't buy it to decorate their homes. They buy it because it's a safe haven for wealth. A piece of art doesn't get taxed like stocks, doesn't depreciate like a car, and in many cases appreciates at rates that outpace inflation. It's not about the brushstrokes, it's about locking in wealth where only a select few can play. Even digital assets are proving this point. NFTs, despite their volatility, aren't just images, they're digital status symbols. A Bored Ape doesn't make sense to the average person, but to insiders it's a ticket into an exclusive club. The same way luxury cars or private yachts separate the elite from the masses, digital collectibles create a new layer of social hierarchy. This is how the richest players think. They don't just invest in things that make sense. They invest in things that trigger desire, status, and scarcity. Logic doesn't make people spend millions on a painting, overpay for a rare sneaker drop, or drop fortunes on a digital monkey. Psychology does. So if you want to own assets that never lose value, stop thinking like a rational buyer. Start thinking like the people who control human behavior. Because once you understand why people spend irrationally, you'll know exactly where to put your money. Chapter 6. The Dark Web of Niche Assets. The richest people don't just invest in stocks, real estate, or gold. They play in markets most people don't even know exist. These are unregulated, under-the-radar assets where money moves quietly, and the returns can be massive. Take rare trading cards. Most people see them as childhood collectibles. But in 2022, a 1952 Mickey Mantle baseball card sold for $12.6 million. Why? Because the ultra-rich treat these items like portable, untraceable vaults of wealth. No regulations, no stock market crashes, just pure scarcity and demand. Then there's whiskey casks. A rare Scotch barrel can appreciate by 12% per year, often outperforming stocks. Unlike traditional investments, there's no Wall Street manipulation, no central authority, just rich collectors willing to pay insane premiums. It's a market fueled by passion, exclusivity, and the fact that once a cask is opened, its rarity only increases. Here's the key. Low competition plus high passion equals explosive profits. The mainstream world ignores these markets, which means those who understand them win big. The question is, are you still chasing the obvious investments, or are you looking where the billionaires are quietly building their fortunes? Chapter 7. Geographic Monopolies. Some things can be copied, digitized, or replaced. Geography isn't one of them. If you control the right piece of land, you don't just own real estate, you own power, money, and influence that can last for centuries. Look at the Panama Canal. It's just a strip of water, right? Yet it generates $3 billion a year for Panama because it controls 6% of global trade. Every major shipping company pays a toll, and there's no real alternative. That's a monopoly you can't outcompete. Then there's the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow passage in the Middle East where 20% of the world's oil flows through. That's why the US spends billions protecting it. Whoever controls this choke point doesn't just control oil. They control economies, military power, and global stability itself. Here's the truth. Land isn't just land. The right location is a toll booth for global money flow. It can't be digitized, it can't be moved, and it can't be easily replaced. That's why the smartest investors don't just buy property, they buy power. The question is, are you looking at land like the average investor, or are you thinking like the people who control the world? Chapter 8. The skill that outlives money. Money loses value. Businesses rise and fall. Even entire industries disappear. But there's one asset that never fades, never crashes, and never gets stolen. High-level skill. If you master something the world desperately needs, you're untouchable. Look at Michael Jordan. He wasn't just a great basketball player. He turned his skill into a $2.6 billion empire. Sneakers, endorsements, ownership stakes. His talent didn't just make him rich, it made him a brand that prints money forever. Then there are the scientists behind CRISPR gene editing technology. They aren't influencers. They don't have a massive social media following, but their expertise is so valuable that companies pay them millions just to license their patents. They don't chase money. Money chases them. Here's the bottom line. Skills compound over time. They don't get taxed, they don't get inflated away, and once you have them, no one can take them from you. You can lose money, but you'll never lose mastery. So ask yourself, are you chasing temporary cash, or are you building a skill that will keep paying you for life? Chapter 9. The AI Blackbox. There's a new kind of power player in the world, and it's not human. AI isn't just another technology. It's a self-improving money machine that never sleeps, never panics, and never makes emotional decisions. And the people who control it, they're becoming the new oil barons. Take Renaissance Technologies Medallion Fund. This hedge fund doesn't rely on human traders. It runs on AI, making decisions at lightning speed. The result, 66% annual returns. That's unheard of in finance, and yet it happens like clockwork. Or look at OpenAI's ChatGPT, a tool that became so powerful so quickly that its valuation hit $29 billion in 2023. Why? Because whoever dominates AI doesn't just control a product, they control the future of automation, decision-making, and intelligence itself. Here's what matters. AI doesn't take breaks. It doesn't need motivation. It just gets better, faster, and smarter every second. The real question isn't whether AI will take over. It's who will own it when it does. Are you just watching from the sidelines, or are you positioning yourself to ride the wave before it swallows the world? Chapter 10. Your 10-year forever portfolio. Forget chasing trends. Real wealth isn't built on hype. It's built on assets that stand the test of time. If you want to stay rich for decades, not just a few lucky years, you need a portfolio that balances growth, protection, and power. Start with skills. Put 30% of your focus into learning something the world will always pay for. Coding, biotech, storytelling. Skills compound. They don't lose value, they don't get taxed, and no one can steal them. Mastery makes you untouchable. Next, own intellectual property, IP. Whether it's patents, royalties, or content, IP makes money while you sleep. OpenAI, Disney, and the music industry understand this. Owning rights means you get paid forever. Put 25% of your portfolio into assets that generate income without your effort. Then prepare for chaos. Crisis hedges, defense stocks, cybersecurity, pandemic-ready IP should take up 20%. The world is built on conflict, and every disaster creates new winners. You want to be one of them. Now secure what can't be replaced. Geography matters, farmland, ports, water rights, and minerals. These are the assets that make the world function. Land in the right place isn't just real estate, it's a toll booth for global money flow. Put 15% here. Finally, collectibles. The ultra-rich don't just invest in stocks. They buy rare watches, vintage art, and niche memorabilia. Why? Because people will always pay a premium for history and status. Allocating 10% here ensures a hedge against inflation, market crashes, and currency devaluation. This portfolio works because it blends offense and defense. You're building assets that grow while protecting yourself against uncertainty. The people who stay rich don't gamble on trends. They own things that can't be erased. The question is, are you doing the same? The most powerful asset of all? Time. The wealthiest families in history didn't get rich overnight. They mastered the long game. The Rothschilds didn't just build banks. They built a financial empire that thrived for centuries because they understood one thing. Patience beats panic. The secret isn't chasing quick wins. It's owning what people can't live without. Land, resources, intellectual property, crisis-proof assets, things that grow in value no matter what happens. The earlier you lock them in, the more unstoppable you become. Want to build forever wealth? Own what others are forced to pay for. Then let time do the rest.